In this video, we're going to be taking a look at another neighborhood here in Chicago, specifically Avondale. Avondale has a history similar to other neighborhoods I've covered in videos due to the fact that its roots start with that same Indian trail formerly known today as Milwaukee Avenue. Avondale started as nothing more than prairie land with sparse settlements along a trail just east of the North Branch of the Chicago River. In 1848, what was a widening trail, though, was paved with wooden planks and renamed to Upper Plank Road. This opened a direct path from the city center to the prairies and farmlands covering Avondale. Even with this new road, though, not everything was perfect. With the road being made out of wooden planks, it was not uncommon to see planks being damaged or even warped from the hot summer heat, leading to an unpleasant commute. Not only this, but there was also a toll system set up along the road, frustrating those who used it even more. While most citizens lived with this inconvenience, others didn't take it too lightly. This led to some people dressing up as Indians and rioting, leading them to burn down a toll booth and even killing the owner inside before looting the planks for firewood. Avondale, though, saw a big boom after the Milwaukee Rail was extended to Chicago in 1870, connecting Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Paul. 3 years later, a post office was built in the corner of Belmont and Troy, where Chicago and the Northwestern Railroad had a stop. Once 1889 hit, Avondale and its surrounding neighborhoods, such as Logan Square, were annexed into the city of Chicago. This led to paved roads, sewage pipes, running water, and other major infrastructure making its way through the neighborhood. Arguably, the most important part of this infrastructure was the elevated train tracks that were extended all the way to Logan Square. At this time, Avondale began to attract a large group of blue-collar workers who wanted to escape the city when they weren't working. By the 1920s, the population grew to 38,000, having more than a quarter of its residents being foreign-born. Primarily German and Scandinavian immigrants lived in the area at this time, though by 1930, a large wave of Polish immigrants moved to the area, and this led to the population growing to be 33% Polish at this time. This is easy to see today, where there are still numerous stores and restaurants in the area being of Polish descent. Major business corridors began to open up along the eastern and western edges of the neighborhood. On the east sat what has now become known as Bricktown along the Chicago River. This area saw a large collection of warehouses and factories being built that all benefited from the ease of moving materials along the river to downtown. Avondale even saw luxury boats being built along its western banks of the river at the Belmont Crossing. What now sits as the Belmont River Club Townhomes was once the Greaves Boatyard and Luxury Yacht Building Company. During World War II, people could even see naval ships being built right in this same place. To the west of the neighborhood saw the Pulaski Industrial Corridor, where many manufacturing and industrial companies were headquartered, arguably the most famous of which was the Olson Rug Company, which many people may even recognize from the waterfall that once sat in its parking lot. Walter E. Olson, the owner of the Olson Rug Company, also owned a vacation home in Little Germain, Wisconsin. He desired to transplant some of the Wisconsin outdoor spirit to his somewhat drab factory grounds. Olson built a 22-acre park full of greenery right next to his manufacturing mill at Diversey and Pulaski in 1935. After being demolished, the park was dubbed one of Chicago's 7 lost wonders, and now just sits as a parking lot. Though, with the influx of all this business to Avondale, it just became a more and more desirable place to live for many working-class families. As Avondale developed its identity, surrounding neighborhoods adopted one slightly different. Places such as Logan Square began to see large mansions being built along its boulevards, as well as gray stone flats being designed to mimic Gold Coast mansions on its side streets. To the north, places such as Old Irving Park saw Victorian mansions being built on triple lots. Yet, if you walk the blocks of Avondale, you'd see wooden-framed 2 and 3 flats, as well as Chicago's iconic bungalow. One major distinction between Avondale and other parts of the city was the use of wood in its buildings. This is due to the fact that post-Chicago fire of 1871, Avondale and places such as Logan Square saw themselves outside of the city limits. This meant the city's new building codes banning the use of flammable building materials did not affect those in Avondale. At the time, the neighborhood was a part of Jefferson County and not Chicago. This meant that a lot of working-class and immigrant families couldn't afford to build homes out of stone and brick, so they moved to places such as Avondale to build homes. This allowed Avondale to cement itself as a place for working-class and blue-collar families. This all contributed to Avondale having one of the most unique housing stocks compared to other places in the city. In recent years, Avondale and surrounding areas have seen a large influx of development. This has led to the neighborhood being named the 16th coolest neighborhood in the world by Time Out magazine, With a deep history and culture, Avondale will always remain a major part of Chicago.